Let me launch the Icom software CS5100. I have some good news. If you have an Icom ID-52 Plus, you've programmed it, and you happen to have the 5100 and you would like to put the same thing, or as close as possible, it can be done without the need of converting. In fact, you can use the ID-52 CSV files that you export from your radio. And let me demonstrate that for a minute. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is open my banks. I'm going to select Bank A. I'm going to do an import. Now I have created two files. All of the Alberta FM repeaters, the whole province. Of course, it exceeds 99 or 100 if you count the 0 channel. So you have to break it up in 2 groups. So my database does this automatically for me, but it can be done manually. So let's go. Open. I say OK. Some settings are changed to the valid value, which is great. That's what we want. As you can see, all the information is there. And if you want to label it, let's call this, I gotta type behind AB, we'll say A2G. Okay. And I can repeat the same thing if I want to import the other half of the Alberta repeaters. It's done. Now, of course, the Icom ID-5100 is a D-Star repeater. So let's do an import. Again, these are Icom 52 memory channel. You don't have to play with it. If it works on your handheld, it will work for you. There you go. DV 2 meters. Okay. Now, there's something I should mention. If you download a file, for example, about repeater book, chirp, or whatever source, it doesn't matter for me. I can use any source or manually put things in. Your call sign is not automatically filled. It's empty. Even though you have a list of all the digital repeaters, so scroll a bit more. Your call sign is empty, your RPT1 is empty, your RPT2. So you either have to enter this manually. Generally speaking, the rule is, and my database does this automatically for me, it checks the mode, digital voice. It then checks the frequency. If it's 2 meters, or the 144 to 148 megahertz, it knows by default you need to put in CQ, CQ, CQ 3 times in your call sign, no space. It will locate the call sign of that particular repeater, put a space and put a C, and do the same for RPT2. The repeater's name, a space, and a G for gateway. Manually, you have to do that. So you can imagine if you did this all on your Icom 5200, you don't want to re-enter all this again. Okay, another thing I've noticed, you can see there's some blanks here. I assume it's probably entry errors in repeater book, or depending where your source is coming in. So you may have to make minor corrections. Do a search online for, like, for example, V3MJM. Find out if it is actually a simplex digital voice or something else. Now let's go. I could be entering the bank names as I go along, but just to demonstrate, let's go to import. And this time, we're going to look for the 70 centimeters. There you go. And if I was to look at it, there's 70, how many is there? 78, and I believe it was 48 for the 2 meters, so it would exceed 99. So on the Icom ID-52, I have 99 groups I can create. On this one, you only have 26, so depending how you program your handheld, you may need to combine some of the groups to keep it within 26 groups and a total memory channel of 1000. Again, my program does this automatically. I have all the repeaters across Canada, all modes, in my database, and I can export in groups of whatever way I like, depending on which radio. If you have a database program, you have access, it's something you may want to consider if you're looking at doing a lot of work. I started breaking up and exporting my files in groups of 99 or less. Not that I need it for the Icom ID-52, but I do have the Icom, is it 2730, the B black version coming in. It has banks. So I started quickly to create scripts that will handle it, make the necessary groups for me. I'm assuming I probably only have 26 groups in that one, but won't know until it comes in. And then we'll be able to match my Icom 5200, my Icom 705, and my 2730 will be all similar when it comes to memory channels, with the exception of certain modes, like D star is not available on the 2730. I want to show something here that might be easier to explain if I have it open up. Let's go here. I'm going to go to reflectors. Okay, channel 0, local repeater RPT. I have the word CQ and BG included in the name. It has no value, just a memory aid. When I look at that, it's on my display. It tells me I have the your call sign set up as CQ, CQ, CQ. The B, I'm using the B link, which in this case would be UHF, and the G is a gateway, which is generally the frequency I use. If for some reason I want to use some of the commands, and again, memory aid, I type in the word echo, because you don't want to be using it only when you're actually testing it. And okay, I can see there's a mistake in there already. Good. Now, you put an E, that will not work. You need to have 7 spaces. This program will automatically do that if I give it 2 spaces. E. Okay, that will work. Again, 2 spaces. I, and then use on link. Unfortunately, if you do this in a CSV file, the program, regardless which program, which way you use, I think it happens on all the ones I have anyways, it will strip the spaces. So if I was to import the file directly to my radio, it will have no space before the E or the I or the U, and it will not work. So there's only two options. You either use one of the Icom software like I did here, fix it, save, not as a CS file. You need to export it directly to your radio. Or if you finish, you can actually export it as an ICF file. Then that will hold. So if I needed to fix this on my radio, I would plug in directly, clone it, and that would take care of it. Now for reflectors. Again, local repeater in this case is RPT. I do have the XLX103BL. Again, that information is not required. It's for a memory aid. I know immediately which reflector I'll be connecting to. What is required is your call sign. It will need to have the XLX103, so the reflector that you want. The B in this case is the radio link that I'll be using. If it's on 2 meters, it will be a C or some other letter. And the L has to be there because the L is the link command. No space. You can't because there's 8 characters. 8 is the max. It won't allow you. So it won't allow you. There you go. So if you have a dozen or so reflectors that you like to use, then you can put it in your memory channel. Have a group. I'm just going to illustrate the different things that you can do. It's up to your imagination and how you operate and the environment. I'm going to select gateway. Let's say you live in an area. You live in an area where you can access 20 repeaters. I mean, you can use the DR mode on your radio or memory channel. I find memory channel is nice because you have more options. Again, same thing. Now, all this happens, of course, automatically for me with my database. It enters all that information. Unfortunately, I would have to either import this particular file, get it corrected here, and then clone it back to the radio. If it's only a handful, then you can do it on your radio. Basically, you select the memory where you want to change, correct, write it to your VFO. In the VFO, you're able to make the changes. If you need to change the E, I, and U, you select the CS icon, put the 7 spaces, and then write back that VFO back to memory. If you have a program like this, it's way quicker. So those are the only options that you have. So I thought I use this to illustrate what you can do if you are in an area where you have a lot of repeaters. You can have a dedicated list of all your D-star repeaters and with all the commands. You could even add the reflectors on this list. I have 44, so probably another 50 or so reflectors I could listed here and use whichever repeater I want to use it for each reflector. Or I could insert in between my favorite reflector for each D-star group. You're only limited by imagination. It works. I don't use the DR mode at all on the radio. The only time I would use it if I'm mobile and I don't know what the nearest repeater is, then I just go to find nearest repeater, whether it be DV or FM or all. That's it. That's but the only area I can see. Yes, you can use the DR mode and do the echo and info and unlink in there. I find it's just easier to reach one knob and switch to one channel. It's something you have to decide for yourself. Hopefully that helps. There is one more thing. I had a few questions. I felt that everything was properly set up in the radio, but no one is hearing them, no matter how hard they try. And I think I may have figured out why. Okay, I try not to bump into my camera. On the Icom, ID-52 Plus, I'm in terminal mode. I'm using the Icom software on the Mac on my iPad. So it makes the connection through internet. Now, let me identify VA6ALY testing. You hear that beep? Okay, great. I'm being heard. If this particular reflector was connected to a UHF repeater, then my voice would go up there. In fact, having two radios is a good way of testing because I can transmit with 1/10 of a watt, goes through the internet and comes out on the repeater, local repeater, and I can hear my own signal, my own voice coming through. However, this is where the problem lies. If I was to go into direct input and oops, wrong way. Okay. This is what some people have set it up. They forgot the space. And then what adds to it, I'm going to test again, VA6ALY testing. There you go. You get the same acknowledgement. However, no one is going to hear you. Nor will your voice be repeated if it's linked to a VHF, UHF. The actual equipment is hearing you and acknowledging it. So, thought I'd mention that. And because it's digital and we're going through internet, there is a delay. I know there's a menu setting where you can add a 2-second delay. I turn mine off. And the main reason why I do that is that the minute I release my push to talk, if someone breaks in or something else going on, there's a chance I'll hear it. With the 2-second delay, I may not hear it. And I like instant. So there you go. The only problem with this, let me fix this now first before I forget. And I'm going to clear that. Put a space. And go back, put a B. Now I'm back the way it should be. There is one thing I've noticed the other day. Initially, I was advised that before you transmit, you should listen for a beep, then transmit. However, when I'm working on the UHF side, and there's a reflector link going on, there's 2 beeps. Now, I'm not sure if this is for this particular machine or that's pretty standard everywhere. I guess it may depend on the hardware. So if I hear the first beep and I start talking, no one will hear me. The only person that will hear me would be perhaps the repeater operator who is next to the equipment. He knows I'm being received, but it's not being repeated. So 2 beeps, then you transmit, then you heard. It's going to take a little bit of time to get into a habit of doing it because I'm so automatically used to transmitting after the beep. So I thought I'd mention that. It can be a nuisance there at times. So hopefully this info was helpful. I will have more something like this going on, not only for the 705 in this radio, but in particular when the 2730B comes out. I'd be curious to see what the differences are and what changes one will have to make or could make or don't have to make to import this. And the reason why I like that, is the way I got it grouped. I base it, the most common frequencies I have it grouped. There's only 17 memories in that group, home. Then I have all the FM repeaters. I have all the FM 70 meters, 2 meters, and I have the digital voice. It goes on. And then I have my digital voice simplex list, gateways, reflectors. There you go. Now, another area that people are having a problem is using the D-star command. Now, I have here CQBG. That's just telling me that this memory is set up for 3 CQs, and I'm going through the B repeater, which in this case is UHF, and the G is the gateway. So if the gateway is linked, I'll be heard. If I want to hear my own voice, I would use this memory. It will send 7 spaces with an E, and you start talking, and then when you release the push to talk, it'll play back a recording. Now, how do you program this? Because if you import a CSV file, it strips it, right? So let's go back. Here I'm in memory. I'm just going to move to echo. There you go. So this is the memory channel that will issue the echo command. If for some reason it's not working, I just say copy to VFO. Yes. So now I'm VFO. I go to menu, settings, and I go to my call sign. It's different from radio to radio, but you go to call sign. I like the 705 because it has actually, let me just double check here. I think it is. Yeah. The 705 has a CS icon. Okay, so call sign. And if you need to edit, you edit. Put in the 7 spaces if it's missing. Go back. And then okay, let's go back. I could have went right away. Then I hit this, write to selected memory. Yes. There we go. So basically, You copy it to your VFO, you go to settings, you go to call sign, edit that. When you're done, go back out, hit the memory write button, and you say write to selected channel. That's it. However, it's a little bit different. When I was working on the UHF side through a repeater locally, I hear a beep, I start talking, but nobody hears me. It sounds like I lost connection, dropped off. The equipment is hearing me, and the repeater operator, if you happen to be by the equipment, will hear me, but it will not transmit. So on the UHF side, now I'm not sure if this is a requirement for all repeaters, but if you do hear a system and you hear two beeps, and you need to wait for the two beeps. Only after the two beeps will your voice be transmitted. And I guess I'm not the only one that runs into the problem, because I've listened, and there'll be, two people will be talking away, everything's working good, and then suddenly one disappears. You no longer hear him. You wait for a period of time, and then he comes back, thinking that there was an internet issue or something of that sort, where in fact it was probably they failed to wait for the beep. It takes a while to develop that. So something I got to learn, and obviously others. Well, I hope the information was useful. And again, it certainly would be appreciated if you haven't subscribed to subscribe, and fingers up, thumbs up would be appreciated. And until next time, have a nice day.